Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. What I want to talk to you today is about how to think about your work when you're going from smaller paintings, sketches, trying to make larger pieces of work using those sketches as reference. And it's something I get asked a lot, either on comments or when I'm doing courses and workshops, is how do you go from having small sketches, small paintings, and turning them into something bigger or just something a bit more involved? And it's a fair point, isn't it? Because, and actually somebody said this to me on one of my comments on, I think it was Instagram, quite recently said, oh, it's all very well doing these little pieces, but when you want to make something bigger, that's the real test, isn't it? And I think that, yeah, it can be tricky to go from sketches or small paintings and make something a bit more involved. But at the same time, I think thinking about it like that small sketches and paintings are one thing and large paintings or studio paintings are something else, making that distinction between them is actually part of the problem and the wrong way to think about it. Now, why do I say that? Why do I say that's the wrong way to think about it? Because if you've got a small painting or a sketch, a small sketch, something that you really like, or a series of small paintings and sketches, and you want to turn them into larger pieces, it's quite natural to think about, okay, I've got this now and I did it on a small scale and I just want to make it bigger. I want that, but I want it bigger. And it's a nice idea, okay? It's a nice idea, it's a nice ambition. But thinking of it in those terms actually makes it quite difficult for yourself, because it's this idea of scaling up. And that's what I get asked very often. It's like, how do you scale up your work? How do you go from this small painting and scale it up to a large piece of work? And it's that I think is the problem. Because a lot of what we do as painters is to do with how we think about it and how we imagine it and go about the actual process of painting. The physical side of it, the technique side of it, that's one thing, and you can learn that. But how to think about your paintings, I think, is at least as important as the technicalities of what paint to use, what brushes to use, what techniques to use in order to put the paint actually physically on the surface. It's that attitude that you have towards your work that I think is, like I said, at least as important as these technicalities. So when you're going from this idea of scaling up your images, it's how you think about it that's the important thing. So let me just grab this sketchbook that I've got here. Now, I've got quite a few paintings in this sketchbook, quite a few of these little paintings in this sketchbook, but let's just have a look at this one for now. There's a lot going on this surface. There's a lot of processes that went into making this little painting, which I really like. It's got a lot of interest. I like the texture, I like the colours, I like the layout of the image, composition, if you like. I like all the different types of marks that are going on the surface. And so that's all well and good, isn't it? It's a small painting and it looks fine. So now, say I want to make this bigger. I want to turn this into a larger scale painting, something that, something the sort of scale these ones behind me. How would I go about that? So rather than thinking of, okay, I've got this now and I just need to make a bigger version of it, what I really want to be thinking about is all those processes. So in order to do that, what I want to do is, rather than thinking of this as an absolute, everything has to be in exactly the same place as it is here, but on a larger surface in order for it to be a success. This little orange bit's got to be here, this lighter bit's got to be here, this pencil mark's got to be here, this pastel mark has to be here, this has to be the colour, this has to be the place where you can see there's a divide or a transition between the land and the sky. If I think of that as an absolute, all I'm going to be doing is trying to copy what's happening here. But this painting didn't come about like that. This is why it has a natural feel to it. It came about through experimenting with different processes. So what it comes down to is that in order to make a larger painting that has the same kind of feel and the same kind of energy as this little one, it's the processes that I need to try and repeat rather than exactly what this looks like. So when I'm going about making these, larger canvases, is exactly that I'm trying to do. It's keeping an open, experimental attitude towards the painting rather than trying to copy a sketch and make it bigger. What I'll do is I'll have a series of sketches in front of me, a series of small paintings, maybe a whole variety of different pieces, the sketches out of a sketchbook, small finished paintings like the ones in my sketchbook, or even previous large paintings, and I'll just have them all around me and use it all as reference. So I'm not just using one sketch and trying to make it bigger. And that way I can keep experimenting and trying out all these different processes so that instead of having a copy of a sketch, I've got something which has the same feel, the same energy, the same movement as that sketch. So it's the idea that I'm recreating rather than the absolute finished copy of a sketch. Now this is something I go into with far more detail in my online course, Paint It Big, in January. All the details are in the description to this video. There's limited spaces because I do give feedback and advice on all your work over 2 weeks of the course. So as I said, if you're interested, check out the links in the description. So forget about scaling up. This is all about trying to get energy, movement, excitement, experimentation into your work, which, let's face it, is a lot more fun than just trying to take a small painting and make it bigger.